Hello, welcome back to a Spiritual Ascension, my own 5-year journey. If you're just coming into this now, please go back to the very first episode 1 intro video and go from there because I'm telling kind of my story. And if you kind of just come into this now, you're kind of be um, confused as what I'm talking about. So in the last video, I left off when I had been staying with Susan in Queens at her apartment. I had just got a job with a wine merchant in Manhattan, so I was kind of traveling back and forth. She had gone on a trip, and during her trip, she had left some fruit in a cupboard, and there was this infestation of fruit flies, and it became so bad that they were all throughout the house and in the bathroom and just all over the place. And I'm sorry, let's see. Okay. Um, at first she was like, "Oh, no, no, don't worry about it." I'm like, well, it wasn't, I didn't leave the fruit. But anyway, because I felt guilty. Like even though I hadn't been the one leaving the fruit in there, I didn't know it was in there, and it just had got out of hand by the time I had opened up the cupboard. It was like so bad. So now it's like the next week where all we're doing is like killing fruit flies. And as I said too, you may notice in your journeys that um, a lot of times things will escalate or in some way that things come to a head where you know that an ending is coming to a situation. Like it's the universe telling you, okay, it's time to leave this situation. I thought I was going to be able to stay. We're at the end of June now, and I was trying to stay maybe till the end of July, where I had like 2 paychecks and had enough money to kind of um, get a place, like in a decent neighborhood in New York and everything. Um, so I think she was kind of fed up with the whole fruit fly situation. I also had got to a point where I kind of wasn't no longer really enjoying the ritual of the chanting and healing sessions that she was doing on me twice a day. And it got to be kind of too much. So I think it was a Friday night. She had come to me and said, are you really ready to do jure? I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. And I was on the phone with my friend, the friend that, had helped me along. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it this evening. I said, you can go ahead and do it. And she kind of snapped at me and she says, like, I will, you know? So I'm like, oh boy. And um, it's kind of hard because when of course, I'm sure most of us have been in a situation where we've needed help from other people. And a lot of times that help comes along with us having to bend to their rules or their ways or the way that, they want us to act, which is hard, especially when you're a grown adult. Um, the next day, Saturday, she said to me, she says, you could tell that there was beginning to be some tension there. After weeks of us being fine together, there's starting to be a little bit of tension. So she says, I'm going to go visit my son. And I said, oh, okay, fine. That gave me some alone time to be in the apartment too. When she came back that evening, she asked me again, let's do the jure. And I said, I'm not going to do it this evening again. And she said to me, what's going on with you? And I'm like, nothing has changed really. And um, she's like, I can't help you anymore. She says, I'm going to have to ask you to leave now. So I was like, okay, fine. And I already known that it was coming to an end. I can feel that energy. And I just said to her, I said, I don't know if she knew I wasn't getting paid till that next Friday. So I said to her, just give me till Friday to find a place. And she said, okay, no problem. Um, so the next day, Sunday, I got up and I was kind of like in a frenzy because, like, oh my God, now I got to find a place. And I've learned also that if the universe is leading you somewhere, that they're going to lead you to the right place. Like, there's no reason to worry about that. But I was like all up, like, where am I going to find a place? I'm not going to find a place. And I went into the city and I'm looking on like Facebook Marketplace for places. The thing was, I didn't have any money, to even get a place at this point. I knew Friday was going to get my first paycheck, but I didn't even know how much that was going to be. Um, I finally, later in the afternoon, I think I actually went to a place and I forget what was wrong with that. I felt like I was on the subway all day, just back and forth. A lady I had contacted about a room in Brooklyn, actually. I didn't hear back from her. And then all of a sudden, I was on my way back to the house in Queens, the apartment, her Susan's apartment in Queens, when this lady with a room contacted me. And she says, I go away for the summer from, she says, starting tomorrow, Monday, I leave and I'm gone for the summer and I come back the day after Labor Day. So every summer I rent out my room and there's four other, I'm sorry, there's three other roommates. So there's four bedrooms in this townhouse and you would be taking over like subleasing, I would be subleasing the room to you for those 2 months. So at this point, I was like, that's fine, I just need somewhere to crash. Um, so I got back to the house, and then that's when she says, I'm leaving tomorrow. So I'm like, well, how am I going to get the key from you? So she says, if you come tonight, I can give you the key. So I left right back out of the apartment and went to Brooklyn and met with the young woman and very nice. And I said to her, I said, the thing is, I don't have any money and I won't get paid till Friday. And I swear to you on Friday, I will send you the money for the first month's rent. And there was also security too. So she was like, okay, no problem. I was like, oh my goodness, the universe is working in your favor and things like that, because people don't do that in New York. And she gave me the key. She showed me around, it's a small bedroom. There was another young girl, kind of, it was in the basement part of the townhouse. And there's another young girl, and the two of us were sharing one bathroom. And then upstairs was the kitchen and there was two people up there and they shared a bathroom. Um, a really nice building and in Brooklyn, a nice, decent area. And I didn't realize till later on that the subway that I had to take to get to work was right around the corner, like 2 minutes away, walk. And I'm like, everything is just a blessing when you give it over to the divine. So went back to the house, to the apartment, and I was so excited. I didn't tell Susan at that point because I didn't want a lot of questions. had been enough tension and everything, and I just wanted to kind of, say my thank yous and leave. And I knew also, like I say, there's people will come into your life for a season, reason. There was going to only be a temporary time for her to be in my life at this point, and it would be time for me to move on. Um, I also knew that I no longer wanted to participate in that association. Um, so I didn't want to feel obligated to, like every time I saw her, to say, oh, we would love for you to join us here. The next day I got up, went to work. When I got back to the apartment, I didn't have that much stuff because when I came to her originally 6 weeks before, I only had a couple bags of, not even a couple bags of what I had carried with me from New Jersey. So now I kind of had a couple more. I got a couple things. She actually helped me out with a couple dress work clothes to go to work. My guy friend had helped me out to buy a couple pieces also. Oh, he got me shoes. That's what he got because I didn't have any shoes. So I had two pairs of shoes at this point. The pair of the sneakers that I had that I traveled in all that time, and then I had a pair of like loafers. I got to take a breath because just talking about this is, I say it's. I'm pretty sure if you're on your journey, have been on your journey, you know the things that you've dealt with on your journey. If you're about to go on your journey, you'll understand. So come back afterwards. So next day I had gone to work on Monday, and um, I was so excited like for that day to end, and came back. I have to take the subway and then have to take the bus to get back to her apartment. When I got there, I was going to explain to her, I did find a place and I'm leaving tonight, and thank you so much for everything. I wanted to kind of cut down the whole, you know, big to do thing of asking so many questions. I also had said, Spirit, if you can provide a portal, I've talked about portals before, right? Making a way open for you to be able to leave a situation without a lot of conflict. So I had asked for a portal. When I got back to the house, she wasn't there. She wrote me a note saying that she was going for a walk with a friend, and um, she would be back later and there was food if I wanted to eat. I was like, oh my goodness, another portal. So packed up my stuff real quick and left her a thank you note. And I called Uber, and I didn't realize the apartment that I was going to and her apartment actually were only like less than 10 minutes away. It seemed like when you're Brooklyn and there's Queens, that there's a big difference, but it was very, very close once I got into the Uber. Because when you're on the subway, it seems like you got to take one subway one way and a bus this way, and it takes so much longer. Um, so I also texted her just saying that I was leaving. So when she got back to the house, she would wonder what had happened if she didn't see the note. And that kind of was that. And I got to the apartment, and the woman had left, sheets for me and towels, and, you know, um, had emptied some drawers for me to be able to put my things in there for those 2 months. And left some hangers, and I was just like, it was also essential air. So it was now the beginning of July, and I was just like so thankful to have because it's hot in New York in the summertime, and I was just so thankful to have that central air um, now for those 2 months. And I feel like everything I had just gone through for the last 3+ years, it was like now the universe has given me some time to just kind of sit with that energy and heal from everything that had, especially what had happened as of April 30th, to be on my feet and traveling and to be outside. And it was a hot mess. But um, that room there was a sanctuary for me. Um, for those 2 months. But I knew too, those 2 months were going to go by quick, and she was going to be back the day after Labor Day. And I had to find a whole new situation. So I'm going to end it there. I'll tell you what happened to me during those 2 months. I'm sorry. And thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like a reading, personal reading, I am a psychic medium. I have a link below in my description box there, and you can book time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.